Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's James. Today we are going to be doing a very difficult tiling job on this wall here. It's not going to be easy, guys, because these are 3D square tiles. That's not what really worries me. The difficulty is going to be getting those tiles to be nicely cut behind quite a complicated recessed bath tap, but also a few little different bits and pieces up here. Let's get on with the video, guys. Remember to hold tight. Before we get on with this week's plumberparts.co.uk video, this is your chance to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Let's get going. So the first thing we want to do is ascertain where our centre is. As you can see on my face, I have our lovely Bosch laser here. Now I want the centre of my tiles to run with the centre of the bath tap there. That's just what I want for this bath. So what I'm going to do is, you can see there, this moves around and that's going to give us a centre line. It doesn't actually look quite central there because of the chromatic aberration on this lens here. And what we're going to do, we're just going to get that straight on there with the centre of our bath tap. So now we've got this line here, I can pretty much draw up a line using my spirit level, which is actually a nice thing to do because it also gets me just to double check to make sure everything's okay. So I'm just going to very quickly do that now. Now also, this is good for you to see this because if you don't have a laser level, this is actually how you're going to do your spirit leveling off. Oh, that's spot on. Honestly, these things are incredible. Cool, so there's our line there. If you watched the previous video of us tiling this lot here, then you will know exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to set off our thickness of wood just in here, and that actually represents the thickness of the bath because we're obviously not tiling in here when the bath is installed. But we also need to think about the fact that later on in the job we are going to be tiling down this side of the wall here, past the bath. We just need to keep that in consideration, and that'll be later on in this video. But what we need to do, we need to think, where do we want our first row of tiles to be? Do I want my first row of tiles to be within all of this lot here, where we've got these outlets here and all that sort of stuff, where I've got to do cuts and all that sort of thing, and if we make any mistakes then it's going to throw the rest of the wall out when it comes to the whole 3D scheme of what we're going to be doing? Or do I want to say, right, I'm going to just do a quick set out without any adhesive so I can find the bottom point of the next whole row of tiles? Do I need to do that? Yes, I think I do. That's going to make it so we can just get started and go up from here, and then later on in the job we can fill in these bits down at the bottom. This is what most professional tilers will do when they're doing complicated 3D tile kind of layouts. So we're just going to take a few minutes to lay out a few tiles. Now, we've got two matte tiles here. What they're going to do is they're going to lay like that, and then a glossy tile is going to lay in the top of that. Let's see if I can find one. Where are the glathies? And then a glossy tile in the top like that, and so on. As it is with so many things that we do in the trades, all about setting up and knowing exactly what we're doing before we get involved with that job. So that's what we're doing here. The easy bit we're going to have first up is the fact that we know that our centre line is going to run down here. But what we need to find out and what we need to predict, because we're going to move up and do all of our tiling up from there before we do the bottom bit round by the bath taps, is exactly where our horizontal level will be. So remember what I said, this piece of wood represents the thickness of the bath, and this worked perfectly in the video before. Remember, if you haven't watched that, go back and check it out. We now need to imagine that what I want to do with my bath is I want half cuts to be lengthways. Okay, that's got a bit of a score out of it there. And we know where our centre needs to be because of that just there. Okay, that's where our centre is going to be. So we've got a half cut here, and let's imagine that we've got, okay, another half cut there or whatever. These are just half cuts for another time. They're actually slightly damaged tiles, that's why I've used these. Now we know from a half cut height, we know what our layout is going to be, and what I'm trying to do is get to a point of where I know above these taps here, so then I can draw a line across there, maybe even put a bit of battening in, and then get tiling over the tops of these. So I'm not 100% concerned straight away about the exact heights of these. Hopefully we can maybe employ the ox tile system here to get us so we're kind of held in position, you know. Yeah, something like that. Now I know for a fact that this tile here is going to have to be cut to fit into that bit, okay? We know that for a fact. Right, so just leave us a little bit of leeway here. That there, and I'll just draw it out a little bit. So from that piece there, we now know that we can ping a line across here. So from here, These are going to go up like that, yeah? And we're just drawing this roughly. This is not for us to go on. This is so we can make this go over to our centre line and we know which way is the right way. This on there like that, which means our centre line and where this is going to be, it's going to start on this line here. That is our centre line there. This is where our first tile is going. We can ping a piece of wood just across here, get this in, this in, this in, this in, and then we can start tiling up from here. Now later on, once these have gone off and everything's okay, we can then put in our first cut tile down here and just work our way back down again. That's what we'll do. Right then gang, after a while, we've just got to get to a stage where we get a mix on. Now we're going to have difficulty with our first bit of getting it on because we want to skim up, right, like you normally do when you're going to be getting on here. Now we need quite a thick bed on this because I want to be able to get over these brass shrouds later on, and the bed is where we're going to lose those brass shrouds in the depth of our tile. So we're just going to scrape up, get our first line on and see how it goes. So you're about to see the first slight mistake I made, but I want you to see it anyway because it's important you see me make mistakes so you can learn from them as much as I did. Right, I popped a whole load on, put a few on, 8 mils, not going to be deep enough. So, and with these smaller tiles, you want a bit of a thicker mix, otherwise they'll just sink right on. So that's what we're just going to get that sorted out now. We're just going to run that up there. So for those of you who watched me tiling the floor or tiling the wall in the previous videos in this series, you're going to realise how important it is for us to get our tile adhesive lines in nice straight lines so it can go off nice and easily. That is important, but if you cannot do it because the tiles are small or you're in a very small gap, and we're going to be in small gaps later on in this video, then I'm afraid you're not going to be able to. You're just going to need to leave it to go off for longer. As you'll see as well, as we're putting these tiles in, you can see them moving because they're not a flat piece at the bottom. They're going to start pivoting away towards the centre of gravity, and they're just going to sort of fall off the wall. That's when the aux clip system came in really handy for holding it all in. Not only does it work for levelling the tiles off, but also it will hold tiles like this in while they're drying off. This is just a lifesaver to have. But at the same time, guys, this is not easy. This is a difficult job. It's not fun either. I did swear quite often. I think Emily heard me a few times from downstairs. She heard me go, "Oh, Emily, I'm cocking this up," from upstairs. But she was good enough to keep bringing me little cups of tea and coffee, keeping me going, encouraging me like she always does. Thank you very much, my darling. That battening across the bottom is so important. If you start off doing tiles like this, you're going to be all right. If we started at the bottom, imagine how difficult this would be going round all those outlets for the bath. The other thing is you're also up against kind of a time limit with your adhesive. I mean, most adhesives give you an hour or two to be able to kind of work it while it's in the bucket, but after a while it's going to start going off. So sometimes what I'll do is do a whole section and then rub that all off and clean them all down, and then put another batch of adhesive on and do a whole section again. It's just the way I do it. It might be wrong, and the professional tilers out there who are watching this video right now might be like banging the table with their head and going, "What is this guy doing?" But this is the way I've done it, and hopefully by the end of the video you'll go, "Okay, that was a really good result. It was a weird way of getting there, but he got there in the end." Right then everybody, it's another day. I've pretty much got kind of up to the top there. There's just a few little fill-in bits that I need to do. My mate popped over to see us, and also I was getting a little bit low on, I was kind of getting to the end of a big mix of adhesive. So what we're going to do quickly now is I'm just going to take all these off, these strips back, and then we're going to fill in the top piece, the bottom piece, and you'll watch us hopefully measure out and accurately get the holes drilled ready for our bath taps, and how we're going to sort of get them over there and make them look nice. Now, one thing I don't know if I pointed out, when I first did this, you might have seen that when we were putting the adhesive on, it looked like I'd put some adhesive on and taken quite a lot off. That was because I originally used an 8mm trowel, this trowel here, but when I was putting on the adhesive, I kind of noticed that 8mm probably wasn't going to get us over those brass shanks that are on there. Also, another thing is these aren't going anywhere, all right? I'm not going to be screwing these into the wall purely because I kind of don't want to sort of pin a pipe, but also I'm really tight when it comes to depth of the adhesive here. I don't really want a screw head sticking out at the end of that brass bit, getting in the way. So we went from 8mm to 10mm, and that's what we're going to be continuing to do. This next bit is going to be quite difficult, but we've broke the back of it now. I mean, this is probably the hardest tiling pattern I've ever done. Bearing in mind, like I say very often, I'm not a tiler, and I honestly cannot wait until it's grouted just so I can see whether it looks all right or not. But for now, I'm just going to get all these bits bashed off, then we'll tile down to where the bath is going to be, up to our batten, and then down the side as well, and they're pretty much ready to grout, and then we can install the bath. Right, so because we're going to have kind of gravity working against us, especially once we've got like wet adhesive on here, it's going to start dropping down. What I'm going to do is we're going to get most of our cuts organised now and cut. So the first and easiest cut for me is going to be this tiny little one here. So it's just going to be a little mark around that, and then that'll be done. The next one is the same thing really, just there and there. And then once we've got those in, we'll know roughly then where we need to make our marks for these cuts here, and then we can get on with it. So you guys know how much of a stickler I am for health and safety, which is why when I couldn't find my proper goggles, I borrowed these off Emily. Nice little pair of swimming goggles, yes. Muy bien. Right then everybody, it's another day. Yeah, we're just clearing everything off now. We're getting ready to grout, which means I use my float. I've got my big float down there, my nice big float bucket, and also my little grout remover, and also it's more sort of adhesive overflow remover to get the adhesive out so we don't have that showing or peeking through or getting in the way when we're grouting. This part of the job is a bit that you should take quite a lot of time over. You should look at every joint, study each one, go along in a nice way, and then once you've raked them all out, run a nice tight hoover through all of those grout joints, and then have another look again. Give it many wipes down with the sponge as well. Make sure it's nice and dry before you continue. So yeah, I'm going to get on clearing this up now, and then we're going to get grouting. You've seen me do loads of grouting already. Just sit back, enjoy the show, nice bit of music, okay? I'm going to call this ASMR grouting.
Gotta make sure that you push your grout in nice and deep. Make sure that it gets in every nook and cranny. Every so often give it a little sponge off. Then you get an idea what you have done. Oh, I love to grout. It just brings the job together right now.
So then gang, it's another day. I just want to say firstly actually about this little bit here. That is going to get covered up by architrave. That doesn't matter, okay? Don't worry about that. That's all good. What we want to do now is I've got my, I'm going to call it my ox box, my big old ox box here with the roller on it, full of cold water and very clean water, ready to give this a wash, ready to give the other side a wash. Wash, 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 and wash again, okay? Wash more than you'd wash yourself after you've been to Amsterdam. This needs washing a lot. Get all that grout off. I highly recommend you buy a good sponge like this one here. You'll be able to get this on our Amazon store. That is the best way of clearing these down. And it's so important to do it again and again. The thing is, right, we've left it a day as well because we want our grout to go off properly so we can wash it quite sort of in quite a sort of vigorous way. Oh, vigorous way, that's all, man. Right then, so everything. Oh, let's just do another one, shall we? Old time's sake. This thing is great. So we've washed the walls down loads of times now. That one up there, I mean, they've just been washed loads of times. Look, we just give them a nice run over like that. Goes round everything. Make sure everything is nice and clean. It's a lot of work, but you know, if you've done loads of nice tiling and then it comes to the end of the job and you don't clean it off properly, you're gonna look like a bit of an umpty, aren't you? Right, so I've got a few different tile types that we're going to be sealing up. So we've got a gloss tile there, a matte tile, and also this type of tile up here, which is just a kind of textured kind of wall tile. So what I'm going to do with some of the offcuts that I've got, I'm just going to go and lay them on the floor, give them a spray up, and then leave them for 10 or 15 minutes. And actually when I spray them as well, I'm going to make sure they're sat upright, leave them for a few minutes once I've sprayed them off, and just see if we get any run, see what the residue's like on there, and then if that's okay, we can then get on with doing the walls themselves. So I've got my grout and tile protector right here. The 3 tiles that we've got that we're going to be protecting are over there. So I'm just going to give them, we'll give this a really good old shake. And then spray the tiles. Usually just drag it across, just like that. There you go. And then I'll probably put a timer of about half an hour on my watch, come back and make sure they're all right. I've already done a test on the glossy ones. There is a residue on those, but that will just wipe off, leaving the protection sunk in and nicely protecting the grout itself. Oh, I just love protecting my tiles. I just love protecting my tiles. So we've got some residue on here, just a little bit of residue. Now the main thing is the spray that we've got goes into the grout. So these bits of residue that we've got, that we can just wipe it off, just to get this to come off nicely. But it's going into that grout. I wanted to protect the grout, that's the main thing. So there you go guys, all done. God, that was difficult. That was hard, it wasn't easy, not for the faint-hearted. I think if you look back at how we did this job, what would I change? Some of the things I'd change about it. Probably wouldn't fit these for a start. I'd go for some nice rectangular ones. Thank you, love. Thank you, darling. But no, it's been really, really good to do. Really enjoyable. I'm just so happy that it's done more than anything else. So the next video, we're going to be getting the bath in. We're going to be putting the bath up against the wall. We're going to be gluing it in. That's the main bit that holds the bath in these days, not these silly little brackets that are at each corner, that are at each edge. The main thing that holds your bath in now is going to be glue, so we're going to be gluing that in the next video. We're going to be getting the legs down and fixed. We've already got the legs down in the previous video, but they're going to be getting fixed. Then we're also going to be getting the bath waste on. We're going to be second fixing the recessed surface bath taps, which will be very nice. Then we'll be able to fill the bath up, get some silicone in on, and then that's it. The bath is done once we've done the side panel, and then we can move on to the other parts of this job. So if you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe button. If you aren't new to the channel, make sure you click the bell and the notifications, and that goes for you new subscribers as well. YouTube does not tell people when we've uploaded new videos. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. It's been most emotional. I hope you've learned a little bit today about how to do this. It's definitely difficult. I'm glad it's done. I imagine Emily's going to make me do it downstairs as well. I can't wait. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. And remember to hold tight.